Hey DCC, I'm Pete Heiniger and I'd like to welcome you to Discovery Church. We're super pumped that you're here, and in just a little bit we're going to get started with the service. But before that, we want to talk about some announcements and some important events that are coming up around here at DCC. First up, Trunk or Treat is almost here. This is one of the best events that we do all year round, and you're not going to want to miss it. So break out your costumes and mark that calendar because we really want to see you there. Also, we have a candy drive going on and we need tons of candy, like really lots of candy. And so if you can make sure that we have tons of candy here by going out, buying a bag or 10 or 20 or a million and bringing them here to the building and dropping them off in the lobby, that would be great. Next up, Battle Cry. This Friday, October 13th, we are going to have a night of prayer and worship in this next phase for DCC. There's no need to sign up, just show up for an awesome night of prayer and worship. Also, Greg's going to be announcing the results of our 719 giving, and you're not going to want to miss it. So please come Friday at 7, October 13th. Okay, DCC, we have like the easiest job that you could volunteer for here at DCC, and that's the parking lot. But it's one of the most important ones too. It's the first place that visitors and other people from our community all get to see us. It's the first impact that we have on them. And we need volunteers. We need volunteers for Saturday and Sunday.
What's up guys, my name is Hannah and I work at Dutch Bros, so I know how crazy parking lots can get, much like they'll be on Saturday nights here. We need volunteers to help direct traffic. Sign up to volunteer at metooplace.com.
Last up, students and parents. The fall retreat is almost here and we don't want you to miss it. It's going to be an excellent opportunity for all the students to connect, and it's going to be a great time. The retreat is happening on November 17th through the 19th, and it's up in Ponderosa. It's going to cost $160, and that includes transportation, housing, and some pretty cool swag. The kitchen sink, you name it, that covers it. But pay attention, the last day to sign up for the fall retreat for students is October 29th. Which is coming up fast. You can sign up at metooplace.com/events, but if you have any questions, feel free to email the student team at students@metooplace.com. We want you to go to metooplace.com/events and check out a couple things that are coming up you're not going to want to miss. First up is Man's Bacon Night, baby! It is going to be awesome. There's going to be grease, there's going to be bacon, and there's going to be awesome sauce. You're not going to want to miss it. So check that out, me2place.com/events. And ladies, we got another gathering coming up in November, and you're not going to want to miss that. So please sign up for both of these events, me2place.com/events. Woo! To wrap up, we've gone over Trunk or Treat, and we don't want you to miss out on bringing candy. We also talked about Battle Cry and how important it is this Friday, so be there. Next, we covered parking lot volunteers. If you can do that, please make sure to sign up. And then we covered Fall Retreat. Students, don't miss this opportunity. Parents, remember to remind them not to miss this opportunity. And then last, we said, go to me2place.com/events. Check out those cool events. We got bacon, we got gathering, we've got awesomeness. Greg is going to give a special announcement this morning, and so don't bust a move out of here when the video starts playing. Listen, because Greg's got an important message that all of us need to hear. That's it for this week. Be sure to follow us on social media so that you can keep up with all these events and announcements. Now please stand up. We're gonna worship.
I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my truth till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my truth till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. Now your mercy has set my soul. Now your freedom is all that I know. The old man knew Jesus when I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. I needed rescue, my sin was heavy, but chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan, now you've called me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing, now your love is the air I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open, 'cause when you call my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious name. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. I see the King of Glory coming on the clouds with fire. The whole earth shakes, the whole earth shakes. I see His love and mercy washing over all our sin. The people sing, the people sing. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. I see a generation rising up to take their place with selfless faith, with selfless faith. I see a new revival. It's stirring as we pray and seek. We're on our knees. We're on our knees. Hosanna, bless the Lord. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh, my soul. Worship his holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul, I worship your holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh, my soul, worship his holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul, I worship your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come. Still my soul sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. So bless the Lord, oh my soul. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh, my soul, worship his holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul, I worship your holy name. I worship your holy name. I worship your holy name. You guys can have a seat. Move into a time of communion here this morning, and this is how we choose to recognize the sacrifice that Jesus made. He saw that we were lost in darkness, that we were wandering without a name, without a home, and that he chose to pay a price, to make a sacrifice so that we would have a name, so that we would belong, so that we could have this life on mission with him. So if you're unfamiliar, what's going to happen is a tray is going to come up and down the aisle with a little wafer and a little cup of juice. Take one of each of those. Take it on your own time. We're not going to come back up and do it together. But let this be a moment for you to be still and centered before our God. And to bring to him all of the gratitude for what he's done for us. And if you've never been here with us before, you're going to hear people shattering those little plastic cups all around the room. And as Jesus hung on the cross, his last words were, "It is finished." All of the darkness, all of the evil, everything that holds us back is broken. It is finished. It is no more. And shattering these cups is symbolic of that, symbolic of the fact that it is over and we have won. And if all of this is weird and you don't really want anything to do with it, just pass it around to the next person. There's no shame in that at all. No one's going to ask you to leave, judge you, anything like that. Just keep the tray moving. So let's pray, and then we'll share that meal together. God, we thank you for who you are and everything that it is that you've done for us. And we thank you that there's time and space set aside where we can be reminded that you are all around us all the time. Where we can come and have the distractions of our lives fade away. And remember who you are and where you are and what you are. Remember everything that you have done for us, God. In your name we pray. Amen.
If we believe in heaven at all, we tend to think of it as a someday place. Someday we'll go there. Someday we'll finally be happy. Someday there will be no more pain, no more loss, no more violence and hate. Someday. But what if it didn't have to be a someday place? What if it could be a today place? What if there were things we could do now? Actions we could take to combat the pain, the loss, and the suffering. Actions that bring hope, freedom, and rescue to the world. What if we could reach out and bring heaven to earth?
What if there was things we could do to reach out and bring heaven to earth? But here's the question, and where we land this series, 6 weeks, we're closing it up today, is what about the hope and the help, the heaven that I need right now in my present circumstances? I have videos about how do we bring it out, but what about me and the hope that I need in my circumstances, the ways that my life is going crazy right now? That's where we got to finish this series as we get going today. But first, I want to say welcome to all of you who are joining us for the first time. So happy and excited that you are here. And I've been watching a lot of Greg's messages. We're about to head into a new chapter. We've got some big things coming our way starting next week. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But as I was looking back, 3.5 years ago from basically today, when we moved into the new building, it was the first time we started to live stream, which has impacted people overseas who are serving in the military in different states, able to join in and do church and have it. So special welcome to you joining us online. That's a big deal, and it's really cool. Really glad that you're with us, and just really glad that you are all here with us today. Special welcome to you. My name is Jason. I'm an associate pastor here, and I am stoked about today because this is the last day that Discovery is ever going to be a 2-service church. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty exciting. It's also scary, and I pooped my pants a little bit. Not up here, but like I did that in private. I'm sorry, you didn't want to know that. You didn't need to know that. But here's what you do need to know. Here's what you do need to know. You walked into a room full of people just like you. You are not alone. We've all made mistakes. We've all messed up. We do not have this thing figured out. We all have parts of our past we wish we could go back and change. And from time to time, we wish our lives were bigger. We had a bigger role than maybe we do. If any of that sounds like you, me too. Me too, me too. I hope you feel welcome and wanted and like you can just be you while you're here in this place. Well, I say that thing about story. I said that a second ago, and I don't usually wrap that into what I'm talking about, but I want to live in a big story. I want my life to mean something. I want it to count for something. I want to be seen. I want to be known, and I have to check that sometimes and make sure that doesn't get unhealthy, but I want to live in a big story, and sometimes it doesn't feel like I am, and my question today is why not? Why can't I see sometimes the larger story that I'm living in? Or why is it that sometimes I can be doing all the right church things, doing the Bible studies, have the prayer life, going to church, doing everything that the church would say to do to have hope, and I still feel empty sometimes? You ever feel like that? What's up with that? Or not with church at all. Maybe life is going great. It got it all together. That girlfriend, boyfriend, that marriage is working out. Or that single life is finally like you're happy to be single. Whatever it is, life's starting to work out. The job's good. But it still feels like there's something missing. Doing everything I can, but something's missing. Or why are so many people leaving church? This place that's supposed to be about hope and freedom and rescue and finding Jesus in the life you're looking for. Why more than ever are people leaving the church? Why? I got a lot of whys today as we close up this series. Why is it that people jump into ministry, and the average burnout fallout rate is 5 years before a pastor, a preacher, a minister, whatever they are, is like, I'm done with that. It's not what I thought it was. I think something's missing. That's what we need to chase after today. What is the missing link to the life that we're looking for? And as we wrap up this series, that's what we're chasing after. So if you have a Bible, we're going to be in Nehemiah. Dang it, I did it again. If you don't have a Bible, we're still going to be in Nehemiah. We're going to be in the book of Nehemiah today, chapters 1, 2, and I always say that if you have a Bible, no, we're still going to be there. Okay, not important. But there's plenty of ways to follow along with us. We got a program. You can download our app. And if you don't want to pay attention to any of that or grab the Bible, you can just follow along with us on screen here. So we're in Nehemiah, and we're just going to jump straight into it. No backstory, because we're starting Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 1. Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 1, and it says this. The words of Nehemiah, son of Hakaliah. In the month of Kislev, in the 20th year, while I was in the citadel of Susa, Hanani, one of my brothers, came from Judah with some other men. And I questioned them about the Jewish remnant that had survived the exile and also about Jerusalem. And they said to me, those who survived the exile and are back in the province are in great trouble and distress. The wall of Jerusalem is broken down and its gates have been burned with fire. When I heard these things, I sat down and I wept. For some days I mourned and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven. And I love the story of Nehemiah. He's actually the first message I ever preached was on Nehemiah. It wasn't on Jesus, it was actually on Nehemiah, okay? You'd be like, you're not preaching on Jesus for your first one? Well, I talked about him, he's important. But Nehemiah, Nehemiah is awesome. There's so much for me to learn from Nehemiah because here's just a regular, ordinary, normal dude like you and me. Or woman, if you're a woman, that's too. He's just a normal person. And he's got this great life of comfortability. He's a cupbearer to the king of Persia. He has everything he could ever want. His job is to taste the delicious steaks and delectable foods. And I would be ordering, if I was king, some great surf and turf with these like big 18-ounce steaks, lobster on top, but the lemon butter, like he gets to taste a little bit of that to make sure that there's no poison in it. He gets to taste a little bit of the wine. He's got a cush life. He's got everything that he could ever want, and this guy hears about these people that in a town that he's not from, and a people that he doesn't fully know, and he starts to just break for them. He starts to break for them, and he musters up this courage. He asks the king, he prays, he's afraid while he does it, and he says, I think I want to go and do something about it. I love the story of Nehemiah because he's just a normal dude who says, there's something going on and I want to make a difference. And when I look at him, I see this guy in this comfortable place who is willing to accept a little bit of challenge. And it makes me ask this question, are we choosing, oh, we're good. Are we choosing compassion or complacency? Are we choosing compassion or complacency? And here's this dude who was choosing compassion, who left his life of comfortability to go and be compassionate and care for people who really weren't even his own, just who his heart was breaking for. One of the things I love about Nehemiah is it's written in the first person. It's like his personal autobiography of this was my heart and this is the things that were going on in my time. And he's like, you know what? I have this life, but I don't want to become complacent. I want to choose compassion and give my life away. A while back, I remember this vivid conversation with Greg. I've been really trying to become a better speaker and a better communicator, better pastor, better man, all this stuff. And about a year ago, I had gotten to this point where I was practicing and rehearsing every sermon and everything I would do so that my personal heart would go away and I wouldn't cry during what I was saying. I had received so much from this place and from the men and women here that I was just bursting. And in the middle of messages, I would start tearing up. And I don't like to admit that, but that's what it was. And I was trying to get myself out of that. And Greg saw straight through it, and he was like, "Dude, you got to stop. You got to be who you are. Your passion, your crying, your tears, the way that you love Jesus in this place, that has to come through." And I just felt like I was hit with a sack ton of bricks. And I started to think back, why did I get into this thing in the first place? Why am I trying to shut down my feelings and my emotion and what makes me, me? And I remember 5 years ago, I got out of church and I never wanted to go back to church ever again. I had been serving at church, I was a pastor, and I never wanted to work at a church, and I really didn't want to go to church. And so I became a bartender in Chicago. I've kind of told that story, but I haven't told this side of the story. We came back for Thanksgiving in this season where I didn't want to go to church. And my wife was like, we need to, we're back here, we're in the Springs, maybe you'll see some people. I'm like, okay, fine. Kirsten convinced me, and we said, well, I don't want to go to the church that I quit from. I don't want to go to maybe Family's church. I want to go somewhere where I'm not going to be known. And we were like, where should we go? We heard about this place called Discovery Church. And it was blowing up, okay? It was going crazy. Every time I heard about it, it was like, we have 300, we have 500, we have 800, we have 1,200 people. I was like, what are they giving out? What are they passing out at this church? Like, what kind of drugs are they giving people to be? That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, we got to see what it's all about. And so we come to Discovery, and real quick, I find out why so many people were coming, because Greg was in a series called The Naked Truth, and it was all about sex that day, which was real awkward for my wife Kirsten's little brother, Jordan, who was there with us, because he was like, all you're doing is talking about sex, and they're newly married. And that was awkward. Okay, that was awkward for him, for sure. And I was like, this is why so many people are coming. They talk about sex. But that wasn't it. That wasn't it, okay? What I heard that day was a difficult subject, a difficult thing to be talking about, delivered in an amazing way with a guy who was so vulnerable and real with his story and his mistakes and his past and the ways that he needed Jesus. It was everything that I thought was missing from church, and how I thought that I had to have it all put together, and the pastors and the leaders always had to have it all put together. I saw this guy and I saw this community that was just these real people that are trying to grow, that are trying to become more, that are chasing after something bigger than themselves, chasing after hope. And I remember thinking, man, we were there, and there's people who look like me. There's people who didn't look like me. There's people with all these tattoos, and I want to get a tattoo, but I don't have one yet. And everybody was welcome no matter what. And I was just like, I don't ever want to be in a church again, but if I was, I would want it to be in a place like Discovery, where Jesus was really doing some real work for some real people. And a couple years, yeah, that's awesome. A couple months later, they had me out for an interview, and I was like, I still don't know if I want to get back into the whole youth ministry thing. I'm pretty much done with that. But I was out for the interview, and I preached. I started meeting students. There's about 40 students, 6th through 12th grade that day. Things are a lot different now. But there was 40 students, and I fell in love with the students that were there because they were real, broken, honest people who brought everything they had into this safe place that was Trek, that was there. And I said, you know what? I've clearly felt Jesus calling. We clearly felt Jesus calling us back into ministry because we can do some real work, and Jesus can use us in some big ways. He's calling me out of my complacency and back into compassion. And since I've been here, I've seen more struggle with depression and with suicidal thoughts and with just really difficult and hard things and all this stuff. I just see the real need for hope and life, and I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that. I want to be in compassion. Listen, I'm not yelling at anybody. This is not getting at anybody. I've never been in a place where people are caring for my heart, caring for each other's hearts. This isn't me getting on anybody here. But this is a question that we need to keep at the forefront. Are we choosing compassion or complacency? And here's this guy, Nehemiah. He had everything. He didn't want for anything. And he chooses to leave and take the challenging, hard road and go and care for people. That's who he was. He was this compassionate man. It keeps, we keep going. Oh, there's this awesome quote from this guy. His name is Bernard Shaw. No relation to Wade Shaw at all, but he writes this play. And if Wade were to write a play, I'd want to go, but I have no idea what I'd be getting myself into. I don't know what that play would be like. But he has this play called The Devil's Disciple, and the quote goes like this: "The worst sin toward our fellow creatures is not to hate them, but to be indifferent to them. That's the essence of inhumanity." He wants to make us indifferent. The enemy wants to make us indifferent. He wants to make us think that we can't do anything. He wants to make us complacent. And this guy Nehemiah was not that. He asks the king, hey, let me go. Let me go and care for this people. Let me go and rebuild the wall, something nobody's been able to do and people have tried and failed. Let me go and do it. And he says, okay, go. And then he goes, and one of the most beautiful and best parts of Nehemiah chapter 1, verses 10 through 17, we're not going to read it, but he shows up and he doesn't get to work. He doesn't do all this stuff. He walks through the city and he sees all the things that need to be done. He lets his heart break even more and his passion grow. And you got to go back and read it. It's one of the most amazing pieces of scripture, I think. And you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, this wasn't that special. But his heart was breaking. And after 3 days of just walking around and seeing the destruction, he comes back. He comes back and he says this in verse 17 to the people. Then I said to them, you see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall, and we will no longer be in disgrace. Hey, this people that he wasn't even about, he has turned into we. He's one of them. 3 days walking around, that's his city. I also told them about the gracious hand of God on me and then what the king had said to me. Basically, he gives this awesome speech, and he's like, this awesome speech, he's like, we're going to build a wall. Everybody, let's do it. And he gets on board with it, and everybody's like, okay, let's do this, okay? He's drummed up all of this passion to do it, and they respond like this. They replied, let's start rebuilding. So they began this good work, but when Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Ammonite official and Geshem the Arab heard about it, they mocked and ridiculed us. What is this that you're doing, they asked. Are you rebelling against the king? And I answered them by saying, the God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will start rebuilding. But as for you, you have no share in Jerusalem or any claim or historic right to it. When you look at Nehemiah's story, there is risk after risk after risk that he takes. He goes to the king of Persia, which is not a God nation, okay? They don't worship the same God that he's worshiping. He says, will you send me? That's a risk. He comes out and he steps out and he shares an idea or a vision with people that he doesn't know, and that's a scary thing, to step out and try to call a bunch of people into something. And then there's more risk because this people raises up. And they say, you're not going to be able to accomplish this. And they tell him all these things. You're not going to be able to do it. Nobody's been able to do it. And then more than that, when he's starting to do it, they start to attack him. They start to attack him and every single person who is a part of building the wall back. There's risks all over this thing. And this dude is the model for taking risks because he realizes that in order to be who he wants to be, in order to have the impact he wants to be, there has to be risks. Because rescue requires risks. Rescue requires risks. And Discovery is not foreign to that. This place has been about taking risks from day one. From day one. There's no explanation for this place. The church statistics would say, if you want people to give and you want a growing giving church, then you got to pass a plate for offering. We don't do that. We put boxes on the back. If you want to have a good church where people want to come, you can't be real about your story as a pastor or a leader because people won't want to listen to you. We don't do that. If you want people to be baptized and you want people to come to know Jesus, you got to have this big invitation at the end. We don't do that, and the baptisms in this place and the stories that God is being a part of and writing in this place are the most powerful part of any service we ever do. I wish we had one today. I was real bummed out, but those baptisms, and they say you got to push it at the end, and we don't do that, okay? There's no explanation for this place except for what Jesus is doing and the risks that people have taken all along the way. And we're ready for our next risk. Ready for our next risk. Starting next week, we become a 4-service church. It's not just a service we're adding on Sunday, but it's like we're starting a whole new service with a 4 o'clock and a 6 o'clock service on Saturday nights. And that's risky because especially in Colorado Springs, Saturday night services have not gone very well. They have not gone very well. They end up shutting down. But here's the deal. The reason why that happens is because they say church people don't want to go to church on a Saturday night. They want to go to church on a Sunday morning. But has it ever been our goal to reach church people? Come on. Has it ever been our goal to reach people? No, our goal is to reach people, okay? Not just church people, not people who already know Jesus. Yes, we want that. We want people who have left the church and they love you. We want that too. But that's not our primary goal. Our primary goal is to reach people. And the thing about church people and the thing that I've run into is we think, I've been in this category too, is that I don't need any more help. I don't need any more hope. I'm good. Jesus saved me. I'm good. We want to reach people in this place. We want to be about the people who absolutely need hope in the most hurting of their circumstances, in the deepest parts and the worst parts of their story. We want to be about hope in this place. And so we're taking risks. We're taking some big risks. I was sitting back there 2 weeks ago, kind of back in the back because I was going to have to go in and out because I was preaching in our 7th and 8th grade environment, but I still wanted to go to church. And so I was sitting back there, and I've never heard Greg take so many risks and make so many asks in one message. I remember he was asking these things, and in this series, we've asked you to do a lot, and we're continuing to ask you. Here's some of the asks. We asked you to step up to the 719 challenge. To pray 7 days a week, to invite one person a week, and to serve 9 hours a month. We've got the serve tables that have been out there every single week and saying, hey, we're starting a whole new church, basically, so we need double the amount of help that we're getting. We're asking everybody in here to make church service, half of everybody in here, to make Saturday nights their church service. We're asking people to step up in some huge ways. And oh yeah, while we're doing all that and making that big push, we're asking you to step up for City Serve. And can I tell you something? Trunk or Treat's right around the corner. We're going to be asking for candy and for you to serve at Trunk or Treat. And then there's turkeys, and we're going to ask you to bring turkeys for families that aren't going to have them. And then there's Christmas and more asks, and we're asking you to step up and help families who aren't going to have enough money to pay. And then there's the biggest ask of all. I think the biggest ask of all is that we need extra money. We're starting a new church. We got to treat it like we're starting a new church. And here's the deal. This place needs our goal of $400,000. And I get this question from parents or from students, especially from students, why do we need more money? We've got a great building. Why do we need it? Well, this building is trying to become a pool. We have so many leaks in this place and in this roof. We got to re-roof it, okay? Some of you, especially our students, they were like, no, it's probably not that bad. There's a leak here or there, okay? I want to show you a video of what's happening right behind this screen whenever it rains. Watch this. I don't know about you, but I think we need to fix that. Right? There's all that. And one of the primary concerns with continuing to be about rescue and always pushing and going forward is our staff going to burn out? And so we've hired more staff. And when I say hired, I'm embarrassed of what I pay some of the people on my team that are working with students. I'm embarrassed that our people that are working full-time don't have benefits and all that stuff. And I'm not trying to make a case for me, but I want to be able to take care of people who are making this mission of rescue, this vision of rescue, their livelihoods, and are taking a pay cut to live with their parents so that they can be a part of this thing. Right? I want to push, and that's why we're asking those things. I was sitting back there in the back with all these asks being made, and I was just sinking lower and lower, knowing that somebody was about to take their shoes off, try to throw it at Greg, realize he was too far away, and there's Jason. You know, like all these asks. Every single ask is a risk that a church takes. You look at more of the church studies and magazines, and they say the churches that are growing are the ones that create comfortable space, and challenge is difficult. We have never, in 1 month that Gregory has ever been here, that is his full name, we have never asked so much of all of us. We've never asked. That is a risk. But here's the deal. Rescue requires risks. And I have been the beneficiary of people coming before me and taking risks and giving money and giving time. And my life has been changed in the past 3.5 years of being here more than I could have ever hoped or wanted or expected or thought was possible. Because of people's risks before me, I have been rescued. My heart, my life has been changed. And I think that is true of so many of us sitting in this room today. Rescue requires risks. And this guy, Nehemiah, he knew all the risks. He knew all the risks of going to a city that wasn't even his own, but he had a heart for that city, much like so many people have a heart for this city and are a part of Cause I Love You and City Serve. Nehemiah had that, and so he takes the risks, but he realizes that his people are important, and he wants them to be safe and secure. And like I said, they were being attacked. They were being attacked. There was a constant attack on them, so he says, okay, yes, this is risky, but we have to take care of ourselves while we do this. Chapter 4, he says this, from that day on, verse 16, half of my men did the work, while the other half were equipped with spears, shields, bows, and armor. The officials posted themselves behind all the people of Judah who were building the wall. Those who carried materials did their work with one hand and then held a weapon in the other. And each of the builders wore his sword at his side as he worked. But the man who sounded the trumpet stayed with me. Why did he stay with him? Well, then I asked the nobles and officials and the rest of the people. The work is extensive. It's spread out. We got a lot that needs doing. And we are widely separated from each other along the wall. Wherever you hear the sound of the trumpet, join us there. and our God will fight for us. He said, there's people that do not want us to succeed. They're tearing us down with words. There's naysayers, but they're attacking us. He says, I want you to be protected. So as you are working and as you are giving your life away and trying to build this wall with a shovel, I need you to pick up a sword and not just be a worker, but also be a warrior. He says, every single person, we need workers and warriors. And so he equips them. He gives every single one of them a sword. That's why on your way out, every single one of you is going to get a sword. So I'm just kidding. That'd be awesome. Yeah. I had to cut off the claps real fast. We would need to take an offering way bigger than what we were thinking of to do that. Can you imagine what like the Gazette or what articles would say? Church gives everyone sword. Watch out. That'd be crazy. No, we're not doing that. That would be nuts. But that is what Nehemiah did. Because he knew the work was too important to put down the shovel. They had to keep going, but they needed to keep themselves safe. They needed to keep everybody around them safe. And that's what we're heading into. That's what we're heading into as we try to work and bring rescue into this city. It is more than ever more important for us to be taking care of our hearts, our families, and what's going on in our world. And here's the deal. I think, and I know, that selfless requires selfish. And you're like, did a pastor at Discovery just tell me that I need to be selfish? What about when Jesus says, like, deny yourself, pick up your cross and follow me, and the only way to find your life is to lose it? I'm not saying be selfish, okay? But what I am saying is selfless requires selfish moments where we step back and we realize I can't keep up with the pace that I'm running at anymore. I need to take care of me. I've seen too many people in church world, or not even in church world, get so about their work and so about their lives that they're leading that they burn out, they blow up, or they just get bored and they don't see what's worth living anymore. And when we are constantly pushing and not taking care of ourselves, picking up our sword to fight for our own hearts, we risk burnout. Or I've seen the other way a lot where people are just like, give me more, feed me. It's all about me. I want to grow and I want to develop, but they're not giving anything out. Not giving anything out. Could it be that what we're missing is a combination of both, of a sword and a shovel, of a worker and a warrior? As we are receiving and as we are going after our own stuff, we have to be continuing to go for the hearts of others and vice versa. Vice versa. Last weekend, my wife Kirsten and I, we celebrated 5 years together. Five years being married. It was awesome. Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. We're in love, and we don't care who knows it. But we had this awesome celebration. But before we left, we realized something. I realized something. My wife kindly informed me of something. I had not taken her on a date since March. That's about half a year. I don't win the Husband of the Year award this year for sure, right? And I hate that. And the thing is, she is all about her job and all about rescue in this city and all over the world. I'm all about my job. And we support each other, but we've also been trying to save money all along the way and pay off debt that I've gotten us into that I hate and it's stupid. And somewhere along the way, through the busy pace of summer where I just go after the hearts of students in this place, I forgot to take her out. And so we spent that weekend just rekindling our love. And that sounded weird to say, rekindling our love. That sounded real cheesy. Whatever. Okay, you know what I mean. But we just spent that weekend chasing after each other, and we committed, you know what? We may run a tight budget. We may want to run a tight budget so we can pay off debt, but we're going to make sure that we go on a date, and it's going to be big, and it's going to be good. We're going to celebrate. Because we got to put down the shovel sometimes where we're both working. We got to take up the sword and fight for each other's hearts. And I remember, we got to do that. And I remember while we were away, I got time to think back on my competitive spirit. I get a little bit competitive and I have fun with games. And when I don't win, I throw a temper tantrum. It's not pretty. It's really embarrassing. And I was thinking back to one of the times when I just recently lost at something. And it was just a stupid game, but I got so frustrated because I saw and I see my value coming from being the best at something. And when somebody beat me, or when somebody is better at me than something, I think I'm about this big, and all my worth and value is gone. And I hated admitting that. up here, and my value should not come from being better than people, but I got to work on that in me. And so I need to pick the sword back up. I was getting to work and grabbing my shovel. I need to pick the sword back up and fight for me because I'm a broken, hopeless dude, and I need more of Jesus. I need more rescue in my heart. So I'm jumping back into Wild at Heart. I'm jumping back into a group of guys who are going to not let me go, hold me accountable, and are going to help me become the man that I want to be. We have to do both. We have to do both. We have to have a sword and a shovel. And as we are going, living the selfless lives that Jesus is calling us to, we have to take a step back. And nobody modeled that better than Jesus. Nobody modeled that better. He was the best at taking time away, running up a mountain, and being all about rescue and healing. And he was the best teacher this world has ever seen. And he said, you know what? I need time alone with God. I need time alone just to work on me. I need to go after some sword time. I need that. We need that. You have permission to say, you know what? I need to just take care of me. I need to just take care of me. We need our sword and we need our shovel. And here's my question for us, or here's just the fact. If I neglect my own need for rescue, it will keep me from being able to rescue others, and it's going to lead to burnout, blow-ups, and boredom. I got to fight for my heart. We have to be doing that. The hardest ask that we are going to make in this place is not the money, is not anything else. It's the ask of saying, will you take care of yourself? Will you fight for your own heart? Will you go into the parts of your story that you don't love because they're painful and they're uncomfortable and nobody wants to do that? Will you fight for yourself? I think that's the hardest ask we make. And as we go into 4 services, it's not about necessarily what we can do for the city that is the point of this message, or how we bring heaven to earth, how we wrap up. It's what we're doing for ourselves, because God wants us to be the best version of ourselves, of yourself that you can be. The thing I love about Nehemiah and his story, he wasn't a pastor, he wasn't a preacher, he wasn't a church leader. He was a regular dude who God called to build a wall. And his compassion and his passion to do that, and not be an evangelist and tell everybody about Jesus and all this stuff, his desire to do that made him exactly who God called him to be. What would it look like in our city if people walked in the freedom and in the passion of who God has created them to be? What would it look like if if this room full of people, the 1,000 or so of us that are in here, said, you know what, we're going to commit to fighting for our own hearts and fighting for the hearts of others, and not letting one go without the other, because we don't want to burn out. We want to be able to run the race. What would this city look like if people were to do that, to take risks and to not live in complacency? More than that, what would your life look like? What would your life look like if you were to serve others like so many of us are doing, but while you're doing that, not neglect our own need for rescue, our own heart, and just when we think we have it all put together, realize that we still need more of this rescue thing? What would it look like? I think that's a group of people like Nehemiah that would change and rebuild a city, build some amazing walls. We have to choose compassion over complacency. We have to take risks in rescue. And we have to take selfish moments to take care of ourselves so we can be and maintain that selfless lifestyle that Jesus calls us to. Jesus, I give you my need for you. Each of our needs for you, God, our continual need for you to come and to bring us more hope. God, there's people who walked into this place. Their marriages aren't going great. They've been cheated on. They just cheated, and this is their last-ditch effort. There's people in this place who are trying to get out of this addiction or something that's taken over their life. There's people who have just lost somebody, and all they're here for is a little bit of hope. And Jesus, in your name, would you come for that heart, and would you love on that person? Would you find somebody to just encourage and love on that person in this moment? That is the most important thing. We got to start there, Jesus. And then will you take a group of people who have experienced rescue and are all about it and know their continual need for rescue? Would you take that group and would you use us to make a difference in this world, to impact a community, to be you, your hands and feet with no strings attached? Jesus, will you use this group of people for something big? In Jesus' name, amen. Our service is not over. We got more. We're going till 8 p.m., okay? Nobody run out. Just kidding. We're not going to 8. But we got something big, okay? But before we get out of here, today is the day. Today is the day that we're taking up the 719 challenge, this offering. Today is the day that we take the risk of asking you to do this. And people have been contributing a little bit online and there'll be opportunity to do it after today. If you didn't bring money today, you can still do that. But we're about to embark on the next chapter. And Greg has a special message for us, and then we're going to take this offering after. Let's go.
So hey DCC, you know it really bums me out that I can't be sitting right there in the room with you right now. This time away was planned about a year ago, way before we decided that God was leading us to do this Saturday night thing that starts here next week. So even though I'm not there, I think we need to talk about what we're getting ready to do because it really is unusual in this place. We're getting ready to take up an offering, a special offering, an offering that's over and above our regular offering. Our goal is to raise $400,000 in one day. And if you're new and here for the very first time today, you need to know that we simply don't do this around DCC. We hang boxes on the wall and take a really relaxed, low-pressure approach when it comes to giving and money. So if you're new here or you haven't decided yet whether this Me Too place is your place, what we're getting ready to do really isn't for you. But don't leave, just sit back and relax for just a few minutes before we finish this up and rock out one more song. You don't want to miss that. So if this is not our normal way, why are we doing it today? That's the question. And the answer is because who we are and what God is calling us to do next, 2 Saturday night services in this city, is huge. And it's going to take some significant resources for us to pull it off. If you don't know this already, God is up to some amazing things in this city, and this place, DCC, is a big part of that. Last weekend, I got to be a part of City Serve and hang out with several pastors from around our city, and I was blown away by the number of thank yous that came our way for the way that DCC has led the way in showing the love of Jesus with no strings attached in our city. Other churches are jumping on board. Other churches are following our lead. This movement is gaining momentum and it's growing. The story that God has invited us into and is telling in this place and through this place really is unbelievable. This church that had no real missions giving at all just 6 years ago now gives 12% of its budget away every year, and that percentage is growing. And we're the largest partner to the largest care and share distributor in town. We're making a huge difference with orphans in Uganda. And we're a huge part of rescuing children from human trafficking in India, Southeast Asia, and now Central America and the US too. And we're bringing sustainability through aquaponics projects to people in Kazakhstan, and helping bring the ransomed heart message of rescue to people all over the world too. And we're providing rent and utility assistance to our neighbors and more beds and hot showers for our homeless neighbors and friends too. In short, that number that was 0 just 6 years ago will be over $250,000 this year because of you. And it excites me to think where we will be 6 years from now. And that doesn't count the 700 loaded backpacks, 500 turkeys at Thanksgiving, adopting over 500 people at Christmas, and the many other ways that we show the love of Jesus with no strings attached in this place. We're already making a huge difference, and we haven't even talked about the help, hope, love, and rescue that people are finding here as they bump into Jesus inside the walls of this place. The stories are unbelievable, and the most exciting part of that is this. We're just getting warmed up. We are always going to be about pushing the envelope and doing everything that we can and leveraging everything that we have to reach and rescue as many people as we possibly can in this city. And that's why we're doing Saturday night. And that's why we're asking you today to partner with us financially so that we will have what we need to really do that. There are about 111,000 households, that's 43% of the Springs metro population, located within 5 miles of where you're sitting today. 75,000 of those people in those houses are 17 years of age and younger. And statistics tell us that only about 17% of those people, of that roughly 250,000 people, attend church. And I could go on. I won't do that. I'm simply asking you to join us in this. The why is obvious, and I'm asking you today to help us with the how. So many of us wouldn't be here if it weren't for the sacrifice and generosity of those who were here before us. And I'm asking you today to invest in people that you have yet to meet. I'm asking you to be generous and to sacrifice so that we can make the next major move forward in reaching and rescuing the people around us who desperately need what we found in this place, the help, the hope, and the rescue of Jesus. And I'm pumped about what God is going to do through us today and about celebrating that total, whatever it turns out to be, together with you at our Battle Cry prayer service this Friday night. Thanks for being on mission with us. Love you, love this place, love this vision and mission, and can't wait to see you on Friday night.
guys stand with us as we celebrate that together? I was lost with a broken heart. You picked me up, now I'm set apart. From the ash I am born again, forever safe in the Savior's hand. You are more than my words could say. Follow you, Lord, for all my days. Fix my eyes, following your way. Forever free in unending grace. 'Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love, never ending. Oh, you are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Whoa. Sing out of the midst of the darkest night. In the midst of the darkest night, let your love be the shining light, breaking chains that were holding me. You sent your son down and set me free. Everything of this world will fade, pressing on till I see your face. I will live that your will be done. Won't stop till your kingdom come. 'Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love, never ending. Oh, you are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Whoa. You are my freedom. We lift you higher. 'Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love, never ending. Oh, you are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. You are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Whoa. Whoa. Neat. Hey, if you have questions about this place, go out the back doors, turn left. There's a room called the Garage full of people that would love to answer that question for you. If you need prayer for anything that you've heard or anything going on in your life today, there'll be folks under the screens to my right and left that would love to pray with you. And there's a lot of jumping in that song, and cardio's not my friend. If you still want to give to what we gave to today, but you were unable to, you can go on to our website and give there. There's a special designation. There's also boxes on the walls in the back if you just want to designate for today, or just give to general fund. That would be greatly appreciated. A couple other things before you run away, real quick. Friday night, we're going to announce the number of what we raised and all the cool things that we're going to be able to do with it, and all the people that we're going to be able to reach with it. It's going to be cool. Trunk or treat's also coming up, so we need candy. So hopefully we can get some candy. And I think that's sign-up tables are in the back. think we're good. Hey, good job. I love you all. I'll see you all next week. Godspeed.
You have richly provided. Thank you, Father.